Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today is the start of a long weekend for me. I actually took off early from work, so I'm home early. I got some stuff done around the house, got a video uploaded so that I don't have to worry about it this weekend. And now I'm just gonna enjoy my weekend, get some stuff done that I need to get done that I haven't had time to do all week, and I really just wanna read. So I was originally going to be doing a 24-hour readathon this weekend and just like timing myself for 24 hours and then like that being my reading. But I'm trying to get myself out of a little bit of a reading slump that I'm beginning to get into and just a rut with that in general, and take some time to focus on reading and just kind of giving myself the freedom and guilt-free reading time this weekend. So instead of doing a 24-hour readathon, I'm just gonna try to read as much as I can over the next 3 days or so. And I will time it just so that you have an idea of like at 24 hours, this is how much I've read. I know a lot of people are interested in that. Everyone reads at different speeds. Different books take me longer or quicker. I can get through them quicker. It's just the type of book too. So I do focus on romance books and like thrillers and stuff in these types of vlogs just because I am trying to get through quantity because I just want to kind of get out of this rut that I'm in. So before we go any further, please make sure to like and subscribe if you like my content. If you don't want to miss out on any more of my reading vlogs, hit that little bell button if you subscribe. I do only really talk about my ratings and feelings on books in these vlogs. I don't do wrap-ups anymore. So if you want to hear about a book, my thoughts on a book, if you see me pick a book in a TBR, this is the only time you're going to see me talk about them is in these vlogs. So unless they hit like a yearly or half-year superlative or something. So that's the only time you'll hear me talk about them outside of the vlog where I read them. So, all right. So without further ado, we're going to kind of talk about more of my reading plans for this weekend. I don't know exactly what I want to read, and I'm kind of giving myself the freedom to choose. I do know where I want to start, and I do know what I kind of want to focus on, but I'm not going to force myself to read any particular books just because I'm starting to feel myself get into a slump because of what I'm reading in another vlog, which I'm putting a pause on for the weekend. And I don't want to do that. I need some nice, quick, fun, light reads so that I don't let these other books put me into a slump. So the first book I'm starting with is Unsteady by Peyton Corinne. This is the first in the Undone series by her. It is a hockey and figure skater romance, and I believe it is more of like a deeper, more emotional romance. I think that these main characters both have like very trying things going on in their lives right now, and they find solace in each other. And I think it has been compared to like the Boys of Tommen series. If you've read that, you know that those are more emotionally deep romances and they're not as light and fluffy. They're not like a rom-com. So is this going to be emotionally damaging? I don't know. Maybe. We'll see. But I am going to start with this. It is still hockey season. I believe we're in the semifinals of the Stanley Cup playoffs right now. So perfect time to read some hockey romances. And this is where I'm going to start. Some thoughts that I have, other books on my radar, I guess, just so you know what to maybe expect. I have a lot of arcs that I need to start reading, and the next 3 that I have on my list, basically I list them just in the order that they're coming out so that I prioritize the most current one, are all romances. The first one is, let me check, it's Josie Silver's new book. It has summer in the title. This is how long my week's been. I can't remember. Slow Burn Summer, I think it is, by Josie Silver. And then I have Ruthless Devotion by Rebecca Kenney, which I believe is like a classic retelling of something. I'm not exactly sure which one it is. I did read Her Great Gatsby one, and I enjoyed it. It wasn't like my favorite book, but when I saw this one, I wanted to grab it too. Gracie Harris is Under Construction by Kate Hask. Those are my next 3. They're all romances. And then the next one is The Wrath of the Dragons by Olivia Rose Darling, which is fantasy. I don't know that I'll get into that one in this vlog, but I may get into 1 or 2 of those other arcs. From my actual TBR, some other ones that I have, I'm just going to be rambling because I need to get my thoughts together here myself. Some other ones I have my eye on in my actual TBR is Lights Out by Nevessa Allen. Caught Up comes out in June, so I do want to get to this because my sister keeps talking to me about it and she's going to spoil the whole dang book if I don't stop screaming at her every time she tries to talk to me about it. So might as well try to read it so that she stops almost spoiling the book for me. I'm kind of looking at Loathe to Love You as well because I've had this is one of the oldest books on my TBR, and it's a group of novellas, so I don't even have to read like all of them at once. So this is kind of on my TBR radar for this vlog as well. Maybe even The Breakup Pact. I'm just pulling books off at this point. Maybe The Breakup Pact by Emma Lord. I have some thrillers up here we could end up grabbing if that tickles my fancy. Maybe Horror Movie by Paul Tremblay. I'm really just grasping at straws right now because I really don't, like I said, I'm just in a weird place right now with books. And I feel like I don't know what I want to read. I wish you guys could vote real time. Perhaps Murder Road by Simone St. James. And then I'll put a Riley Sager one on here as well. We'll put this Riley Sager one on, Survive the Night, and then I'm gonna grab Call It What You Want by Alyssa Derogatis as well. So I have 10 books to choose from after I'm done with this one. We're just gonna see how many I can get through this weekend and if I can make myself focus on reading for once in my life. Not once in my life, once in this month. I just feel like this month has been very hard for me to sit down and focus on reading. So I want to get back into that and to loving it. And I think some quick, fun romances and like some fast-paced thrillers are really what's going to do that for me. Instead of the 1,600-page tandem read of a fantasy I'm doing right now. So it's not Throne of Glass. All right, so that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna start with this. We're gonna start the timer and we're gonna go from there. And I will talk to you guys once I make it somewhere with this and can have something to say. Okay, so I'm just at like page 100, 103, and we're an hour and 15 minutes on the timer. So far, we are just kind of, it's moving fast and slow at the same time. So like it's going back and forth with our two main characters. So we have Rhys, who is a star hockey player. He's the captain of the team. He has an accident at the beginning, and now he has like this fear of playing and skating and stuff again, and he's trying to like push everybody away. He was supposed to go into the draft, but this incident has kind of stopped him from being able to enter the draft when he wanted. And then we have Sadie, who is kind of in the complete opposite like home situation as him. Rhys's dad is like an ex-NHL player, so he comes from like a affluential, like richer background. Again, similar to Johnny and Shannon in the Boys of Tommen series. Like Johnny had a sports injury and he was dealing with that, but he also was like the more well-off part of the couple. And then we have Sadie, who is a figure skater and is trying to make ends meet for her family because it's like a single parent household and her father is not helpful and he has his own issues he is dealing with, and she's trying to take care of her two younger brothers, Oliver and Liam. So very, very, very similar setup to the Boys of Tommen, like Binding 13 and Keeping 13. We'll see if it starts to kind of differentiate there. It is definitely going to be, I think, spicier because they're already like really admitting attraction to each other and trying very hard to like not take the next step. And they're the opposite in that way as well, which this is where it kind of differs between Johnny and Shannon. It's kind of the reverse trope with them. I'm just going to keep comparing it to that because that's what this is, but I don't mean to be doing that. But Rhys is definitely more of like the monogamous type of person. Like he wants a girlfriend and that's it. And then Sadie doesn't want to have a relationship, so she just kind of uses guys for hookups. So that's a little bit different than the Binding 13 situation in general, because they really started off with like a stronger friendship, where this is kind of, they're taking solace in each other, but it's turning, I think, a little, it's more physical than I was expecting it to be this early on. Granted, this is not a very long book. It is like 250 some pages. So, no, 350 some pages. So I'm already like a third of the way through the book, and I think it's gonna pick up pretty quick in that. I'm enjoying it. I don't really know what I was expecting out of it, if I was expecting to like absolutely love it, but we'll see. We're meeting some of the other characters. I think we just met the main male love interest for the second book, I think, if I remember correctly on who's on the back of that book. And possibly even the couple might have just been introduced together, which I'm hoping for because I liked that part. But I don't know, it's like, it feels like it's moving a little fast, but at the same time they keep pulling back and pushing and pulling back and pushing. So it's like stop, go, stop, go, stop, go. So it's different in the buildup of a relationship, I think, than anything I've read recently. So I'm gonna make an iced coffee because it's already almost 4. So I'm gonna make an iced coffee and then I'm gonna read some more, and then I have to go. I'm meeting my family for dinner at like 5. So I will have to take a break from reading at that point. So I'm going to try to read as much as I can before then and get some caffeine in my body before that. So I will probably update again later after I'm home and I've read a little bit more. And we'll see what. So we're just over 4.5 hours on the timer. Book 1's done. This was cute. I don't know that it was exactly what I was expecting it to be, but I still really liked it. I think it's going to be like a 4-star, 3.75, 4, something like that. And it dealt with a lot of like heavier topics, which I do like in a romance. I do like a rom-com every now and again. Like I like lighthearted, fun, like predictable third act breakup. You know they're gonna get back together kind of romances, but every once in a while it is nice to have like a deeper one where they really do go into deeper topics. And like anxiety was huge representation in here. Like bad family situations, bad home situations, just being able to deal with all of that, the responsibility that falls on people, maybe that it shouldn't, dealing with all of that. This read like an Abby Jimenez book. I want to say a little spicier. It wasn't like terribly spicy, but it felt like even though their relationship was like very physical, even from the start, they did have that emotional connection because of how they met and like how they started to connect. It wasn't just like completely physical at the beginning. So really enjoyed this. Very excited for the second book actually. If I'm right about who the couple is, I haven't looked yet because I kind of want to be surprised, but at the same time I want to know because I feel like that'll make me want to pick it up quicker if it's the couple I think it's going to be. So it's also much longer. This was just 350 pages. I think the next one's like over 400. So I liked this. I'm going to say 4 stars. Like, I think the more that I sit with it, the more that that's what it's going to end up being. But now time to pick our next book. I think what I'm going to do is read the first novella in here. And then I think I'm going to read Slow Burn Summer by Josie Silver. So yeah, I think I'm going to read, this is only like 120 pages long, the first novella in here. It is 9 o'clock. So I don't know that I'll get through this tonight, but I'm going to start reading it. And when I'm tired, I'm just going to go to bed. We're going to stop the timer and I'm going to go to bed. And then I'll pick up in the morning. And that's the plan for now. Read the first novella here and then pick up in the morning with wherever I end up. So far, so good. I got through that a lot faster than I thought. Usually like 4 or 5 hours is what I guess not really, because 4 to 5 hours is usually what it takes me to read a romance novel of average length. So happy to knock one off the list, especially since it's taken me an entire week and I'm only like halfway through this massive tandem read that I'm doing for Zodiac Academy. So it feels good to actually get a book off my physical TBR. So gonna start this and I'll update at some point tonight or tomorrow. It is Saturday now. I did not read too much last night because I got tired, and I'm not trying to force myself to read because that's actually going to be like counteractive to what I'm trying to do, which is not slump out. So, and I was just tired, so I wanted to go to bed. So I'm at 5 hours on the timer from when I started. So I think that was another half hour, and I read about 45 pages of the first novella, In Love to Love You. So we're following 2 people. Let me remember their names. Liam and I want to say like Mara. Yeah, Liam and Mara. And they're forced into a situation where they're sharing the same home because they both like inherited half a house. Like they don't know each other. It's actually Liam's aunt, but she somehow worked with Mara and ended up leaving her half of the house to Mara. So now they're like reluctantly living together, and he's not happy about it. She just is like a recent grad student and wants to save money when she moves to DC so she can, pay off her loans and everything. So she was like, this is perfect. The house is there. I don't have to pay a mortgage. I don't have to pay rent, and I can like start my job, save money, pay off my loans, and then move on. But he's not a fan of that, and we're not really sure why at this point. He like keeps trying to buy her out of the house. So again, there's only another 60 pages left, so we'll see how it goes. But I'm gonna finish this off, and then I'm gonna start Slow Burn Summer. So when I'm done with this, we'll check in again and then we'll move on. We have just hit the 6-hour mark and I finished the first novella in Love to Love You series. I believe they're all interconnected because I think it's 3 best friends and you meet them all in Mara's story. So we'll see. I really didn't read too much of the back, but the way she was describing them and the way that I'm 99% sure I know what the plots are for the most part, I think that they're all the 3 best friends. So it was cute. Are novellas my favorite? No. I'd say her novellas are probably like my least favorite books of Ali Hazelwood's. I love everything. I don't even want to call it a book. Stories of Ali Hazelwood's. I'm not a big novella girl because I just don't think that you can like build up a story enough, but I think I'm going to treat this almost in my mind as like one book where you're just getting everybody's relationships at separate times because they are interconnected, and that might help me like this overall more. But it was cute. I liked the way that like something happened between them in the prologue and then it went back in time 6 months, like I was saying, to when she moved in with him, and then it built up like their relationship that way and their friendship that way, and then ended in present time again, picking up just after the prologue. So I enjoyed it. I'll read the other ones this weekend as well because it was just like a quick read to start before bed and then finish first thing in the morning. So maybe that's how I'll continue to play this out. Like this will be the last thing I read tonight. We'll see how time works with that, but I enjoyed it. Not gonna rate it now, obviously. So now I'm gonna read Slow Burn Summer, which is an arc that I have off NetGalley that comes out June 10th. So very soon, actually. It says June 10th. Nope, June 10th. Okay, so it comes out in just over a week from when you'd be seeing this, I think. 2 weeks from when you'd be seeing this. So this is Josie Silver's newest book about a talent agent, Charlie, who has 3 problems: a divorce that ended his screenwriting career, a business he never planned to inherit, and a take-your-breath-away romance novel whose author wants nothing to do with its publication. So they know that that book's going to be like a hit, but the author doesn't want anything to do with like book touring or anything, so they try to hire somebody to act as the author for the summer, and that is where Kate comes in. She's a former soap actress who is miraculously right for the part at the very moment her life seems to be going all wrong. So she's still recovering from her own divorce, and his job offer is a lifeline. They don't know. I don't know if the person that writes the book ever comes into play, but when they meet, they're all friction and sparks. The one thing they have in common is that they're determined to play their respective parts, but as the summer heats up and the lies get bigger and bigger, can they stick to their lines or will they go off script? So we'll see. I think I've read and or listened to a few of her books. Let's see what she's written. I know she did the one December, The Two Lives of Lydia Bird. I just listened to that audiobook actually like maybe 2 weeks ago. I liked that. It was I didn't love the ending, but the story itself was really good. So we'll see if this can maybe bump her up a little bit more on an author scale for me. I just felt like the ending was really rushed on that one, but I'm gonna give this a go. And I'll update in a bit. I just made some breakfast and stuff, so I'm gonna eat and then we'll start reading this book on the Kindle, which is always nice because then I'm a little more mobile when I have a Kindle. It's kind of nice, so I'll check back in later. Okay, so I'm about 40% of the way through the book and we're at just under 8 hours on the timer. So basically what we have is Charlie and Kate, and Kate, like I mentioned in the synopsis, was recently divorced, kind of trying to like reevaluate, restart her life. She gave up a lot of her life to her marriage and everything. Like she basically became a stay-at-home mom. She gave up her career, so now she's trying to re-establish it. Also get money because of the whole divorce situation. She doesn't really have much to her name. And then Charlie, also divorced, is trying to take over his father's business, and that is like a talent, what do you call them? Representative of talent and stuff like that in the industry. So he's Kate's representative, and she does not know who the author of this book is, but she's allowed to communicate with them without knowing that. So it's really not been much of a romance yet. It's been her trying to come to terms with the fact that she's going to fake be this author for this book and learn as much as she can about the author without knowing who they are and revealing anything to the public about who they are, but also to be able to represent the book in a good way and everything. She's also dealing with some like things with her daughter and everything, so it is more like a character study book, I'd say, right now than a romance. I obviously think that the romance is going to be between her and Charlie, but I'd have to say the last Josie Silver book I read was very similar to this. It was more of the main character dealing with things that happened in their past and dealing with grief than the actual romance. The romance was like right at the end and real quick, which is why I wasn't thrilled with that book, just because it's marketed as a romance, but I didn't feel like it was. And I'm getting the same vibe with this, so I don't know if that's just how she writes her books, but it's entertaining. It's a fast read. I love her sister because she's just like a ball of fire, and I think it's hilarious. So the relationships and stuff we're being introduced to are very interesting, but it's not very romantic. The feeling, there's like not even a lot of feeling, I would think, between, like, she has said Charlie is attractive. She's told her sister that, but she also like doesn't trust him. But there's not a lot of focus on their friendship or their working relationship or anything right now. It's really just focused on Kate and her trying to get this book out into the public domain. Not actual public domain, but you know. So yeah, that is where I am with that. I'm gonna continue reading it and we'll go from there, but so far so good. It's not like my favorite book ever, but I'm very honest when I get ARCs. I'm not a person that will just be like 5 stars because you let me read the book for free. No, I want to give good feedback so that people know what my thoughts were on the book. I'm not going to trash an author, but I'm going to give my honest opinion on just the vibe of the book and what I think about it. So this will not be a 5-star read, I can tell you that right now, but I'm still enjoying it. So we'll see how the rest of it plays out to see if it can like continue to hold my attention for the last like 58% of the book. So I will update a little bit later. It is only like 11 o'clock on Saturday right now. I've been doing some not errands, but chores and stuff around the house too, because I still need to be productive, which is why I didn't want to do a 24-hour readathon and just like rot in a chair all weekend. So I'm gonna go do some stuff and then continue reading and we'll update a little bit. Hey everyone, done with Slow Burn Summer. And the second half definitely picked up on the romance a little bit more, but I definitely don't think I would consider it like heavy on the romance. It was definitely more of a story about Kate finding herself and figuring her life out after her divorce and her, like, all the changes that she's made and circumstances and just how like perfectly things came together for these two people to be part of each other's lives. And it was a really well told story. Like, I really did enjoy it. I'm around like probably just like a 3 or a 3.25. I don't want to like just give it a 3 because like I did enjoy the second half more, but it wasn't like my favorite romance I've read. I think the fact that, again, her books are classified as a romance and I don't think they're very heavily romantic. They're quietly romantic, I guess is the best way to say, because the relationship between the two main characters was done in a very subtle way, but also more of like a real believable way. I think I'm just so used to reading romances where it's like screaming in your face about it, and that's not how this was. But they definitely still like connected and had like an emotional, and like there was trust that had to be built and all that kind of stuff. So I did enjoy it. It also really heavily delved into in the second half like social media, especially like book social media, and how that can be absolutely toxic, but then also how like it can bring people together. So that was kind of interesting, and I did like that part of it. So I'm around like maybe a 3.25, 3.5 star on it. I did enjoy it. I liked it more than The Two Lives of Lydia Bird. That one had a little bit of magical realism in it, which I didn't particularly like for that story. So that might be why I didn't love that one as much. But this one I did, and there was like no magical realism in this one. That was more realistic. So I did connect to this one a little bit more. The characters were also a little bit older, which is kind of nice to read about, people in like their late 30s rather than like people in their 20s all of the time. As somebody in their mid 30s, it's kind of nice to read something where people are finding love either again or for the first time a little bit later on in life. So I liked that about that too. But time to move on to the next book, and that is going to be I Need a Break from Romance. So I'm going to read Horror Movie by Paul Tremblay, which is completely opposite of a romance. This was about something filmed in like the 1990s by a group of guerrilla filmmakers. It was like an art house horror flick, but only 3 of the film scenes were ever released to the public. But Horror Movie has nevertheless grown a rabid fan base. Decades later, Hollywood is pushing for a big budget reboot. There's only one surviving cast member, and he remembers it all too well: the secrets buried within the original screenplay, the bizarre events of the filming, and the dangerous cross lines on the set that resulted in tragedy. His memories flowed back in. The boundaries between film and reality, past and present, start to blur, but he is back going But he's going to help her remake the film, even if it means navigating a world of cynical producers, egomaniacal directors. Well, that was, I don't know why that didn't compute in my brain. And serial fan conventions, demons of the past be damned. So I think this is like, this almost makes me feel like the movie that it's based off of is like similar to the Blair Witch Project, like that low budget just running around and you don't really know what's happening, and it seems like only parts of it were ever actually released to the public. So we'll see. I got this at an ARC sale. It was an ARC donation kind of thing at a local bookstore that they did, and that's where I picked this up. So it did come out in June of last year, so almost a year ago, and I've had it on my radar, and then when I saw they had that as one of the options to take for the fundraiser they were doing, I picked it up. So looking forward to reading something different than a romance or a fantasy, because it's been a while since I haven't read one of those genres. So I'm going to start this and I'll check back in later. Oh, and the time so far is just over 10 hours. So doing good on time. I will at least hit the halfway point of 24 hours today, even though I said I'm not going to like cap it at 24 or I'm really aiming for 24. It's just kind of whatever I do. It's just how much I get to read on the holiday weekend is really what we're just kind of looking at. So gonna start on this. I'll talk to you guys later. Okay. I'm about 30% of the way through Horror Movie. It's only like a 200 and some page long book, so I'm like on page 95. I'm a little bit bored. The way that the story's being told is like a then and now timeline, but also like then and now the thoughts of the guy that we're following, who was the Thin Man guy, the thin kid, and then like the script of the original movie. So we're following his thoughts from when he was originally cast and like what the thoughts were for the movie, and then like them filming the movie, and then we're also following him talking to the current crew and everything about what they're planning on doing for the remake. And it is just, it's weird, and I don't know, I'm not vibing with it too strongly right now, so I'm not sure what I'm gonna do about this, to be completely honest. I might put it down for a little bit and maybe come back to it, but I think for now I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna like kind of set this aside and see if maybe it's a little bit more appealing to me tomorrow. And then I'm gonna start the third or the second novella in this little interconnected novella series. Even though like I'm kind of over romance at this point too. Not really. This is my problem, and I am like pretty sure I have undiagnosed ADHD, and it is getting worse with age, because I've also think I've let my TBR get to the point where I just want to read so many books on it that I can't focus on the ones I'm trying to read regardless of what book it is, because all I'm thinking about is how many other books I want to be reading. I think that's part of it. Just like nothing's holding my attention, because there's a part of my brain that's like, but what if this one's better? What if this one's more interesting? But I'm not going to start 6 books at one time. I'm not that kind of person. I'm already technically reading 4 books at one time because I have these 2. And then I'm also taking a break from reading 8 and 8.5 from the Zodiac Academy to film this vlog over the weekend. So this is a bit much for me. What I'm going to do, I think, is start this, see how I feel about that, and then make a decision from there. It's still only like 7 o'clock, not even. So I have like quite a bit of time left in the day, and I'm not really tired yet. That could change as soon as I like lay down, but I don't know. And then I don't know what I want to read next, because again, there's 27 books in my head that I want to get through. I think I do know what I'm going to read next, just because I have an obligation to get through a few arcs this month to be able to keep up with my NetGalley arcs. So I think I'll be reading another one of those next, but right now, just to get through the evening, I think I'm gonna continue on with this for now. And I may update before tomorrow morning. I may not. We'll see. But right now I just need to stay off social media and stop letting my phone distract me and read a dang book. So that's what I'm gonna try to do. Hey everyone, it is Sunday morning. I went to bed kind of early last night. I was really tired, but I'll let you know like what I've read in the meantime. I really haven't touched too much more of Horror Movie. I read maybe another chapter last night, and I just really wasn't feeling it at that point. I don't know if I was just tired and I just wasn't into it. I don't know. But like I said in the previous update, it's just not moving very fast for me, and it's just, the story's building in a very strange way, and I'm not really sure like what to expect. But I haven't really made any more progress with this, but I will try to read some of that today. Last night I did read the second novella in this little STEMinist series, and I really liked this one. I think I liked this one more. They were both engineers, and they were like, I want to say like biotech engineers, like architectural engineers, something like that. But they worked in the biotech industry, civil engineers. And they both worked in like the biotech industry kind of thing, or at least she did. That's what she got her master's and doctorate in. It was like a weird meet cute, and it was like insta-lovey, I will say that. But the way that he was just like obsessed with how intelligent she was and not threatened by like how smart she was and successful, and he was just impressed by it and wanted everybody to know, that will do it for me every time. So as a woman in STEM, I really relate to Ellie's books, and I think that maybe that's why some women don't, because they don't relate to the female characters as much. I don't know. I do think that a lot of people love Ellie Hazelwood, but I do think that there's some people that are just like, I didn't relate, which is understandable. But this especially this last one was just very relatable, the things that our main character dealt with and everything. So Sadie was the main character in this one, and then Eric was the other one. So this couple down here, this was our first couple. And then the last one will be Below Zero. And I don't know. I'm really enjoying these. They're not like my favorite thing by her, but I do like that it's just like a little condensed story. And I believe there's like a bonus chapter at the end that is all of them, because they are like, the three girls are best friends. So I'm excited to get to that, to kind of see where everybody is. But I liked the second one, I think, a little bit better. I have also started Rebecca Kenny's Ruthless Devotion, which is an arc I have from NetGalley, and it is a paranormal retelling of Wuthering Heights. I only understand the basics of Wuthering Heights. I've never like read the book, seen the movies or anything, but I know the story. It's kind of nice being able to go into this without that story being like truly ingrained into my head, so I get to see like how she's going to tell the story and how the paranormal aspects are going to come into it. I do not know what exactly the paranormal thing is. Right now we're following Kathy and Heathcliff, and she's the one I think that has the paranormal aspect to her, and she just keeps talking about this monster, these episodes that she has, and like right where I am in the book, I think is, and it's only like a few chapters in, I think is where we're gonna find out what she is. So I'm not very far into that. I read a few chapters before bed last night, and then right before I came out here this morning when I got up, because it was on my Kindle. So yeah, that is where I am with all of those. I'm probably going to continue to read that for a little bit and then go back to horror movie. And then we'll just kind of see what I'm feeling today about my vibe on what I want to read. So I'll update a little bit later. Okay, I finished horror movie. And quite honestly, like, I did consider DNFing this quite a few times. I think my issue with this was I went in expecting it to be something that it's not. And the writing style really threw me for a loop in this, because it was kind of all over the place. You're following two different timelines, but actually, like, they kept throwing in like a third, like he kept throwing in a third timeline as well that just kind of jumped around a lot. So honestly, every time we started a new chapter, I was a little confused as to where we were, whether we were in the remake or the original or somewhere in between. And then the scripting part was cool. Like, I do think that I liked how like they incorporated the script into it, and you got to read like not only what the characters were saying, but like what the actual screenwriters wanted people to feel, like people watching the movie to feel. And I think it gave me better insight into what like two of the characters that wrote this were thinking and everything. But the ending kind of threw me for a loop too. I was expecting something like that to happen because it was being kind of foreshadowed the entire time, but it was just weird. It was very weird. Not what I was expecting. It's a horror novel, and I was expecting to be like absolutely terrified and on the edge of my seat the whole time, and I didn't get that. And I don't know if it was the pacing or just, I think it literally was the writing style that got me the most. The story itself wasn't bad. It was interesting. Like, I wanted to know what was going to happen, because again, there was a lot of foreshadowing. There was a lot going on, a lot of characters. And you kind of, and it like this curse that was implied throughout, and you kind of are like, is it a curse? Is it something else? Like, how's this going to play out? And I think it was the writing style that just threw me, the way that we were just jumping all over the place. And you're really only following one character. You're following the guy that plays the Thin Man originally. That's it. So it's not even like we had different points of views coming in. It was just like trying to pinpoint where in the story we were was hard for me. So unfortunately, I'm not going to be rating this one very highly. I'm like around a 2 or 2.5 for it, because I feel like I could have liked it if it was maybe formatted a little differently. I could have liked it a little more. I can see how like a true horror book reader would love this, because it was a fascinating story. The way that it was written really threw me for a loop, and I think that is what made me not itch to pick it up. But the story, like I said, was good. The idea, the concept, I just don't like how it was executed, which is why I think it's not as highly rated for me. But I could see how somebody else that really enjoys this genre could like it. But I'm not gonna never try one of his books again either. I've heard good things about him, and I know there's people that really like that author, so I could try another one of his books. But this one just wasn't it for me. So it was probably just me and not jiving with the writing style. So now I'm going to try to finish up the last story in Loath to Love You. This follows, I know the guy's Ian. Hannah? Yeah, Hannah and Ian, who's Hannah's the last friend in the like little circle we've been following. And Ian, I want to say we maybe got like a little bit of a snippet of earlier in the books, but I'm not 100% sure. I'll go back and verify that, because I want to say he was mentioned in the first story, but it might have been someone else. So I'm going to go check out that, and then I'm going to read, and I'll check back in whenever I'm done with this one, and we'll knock another completed book off the list. So I just finished up Loath to Love You. I really ended up liking this little collection of novellas, and I think it's because they were all interconnected. It was like a tiny interconnected standalone series, and it felt like one book. So I ended up giving this 4 stars. It's Ali Hazelwood. I'm going to love everything that she writes, and I don't know, they're just entertaining, and I can sit down. I sat down and just read these, all 3 of these, when I would sit down. Granted, these were only like 120 pages on average each. I did not like put the book down when I was reading them. I would read the entire 120 pages in one go. So that to me is how I know I really love this author, because her writing is just so engaging. Even if it's just a romance, you know, like, I don't want to put it down because I'm entertained the whole time. There was no lag. And in a novella, that's very important. But I ended up giving this 4 stars as a collection and really enjoyed it. So now I'm going to go finish up Ruthless Devotion. I think I'm like 20% of the way through the book. I don't think it's very long. I don't know. Some of these arcs like don't have page numbers, so I just go off of the page number that like Google says. It says it's around like 270 pages, so I don't think it's that long, but it's very interesting. Like, we found out what our main character is. We found out what Kathy is, and then we know a little bit more about like how Heathcliff is involved in like supernatural things, and it's very interesting. Very different than anything I've read, like paranormal wise. Like, it's not your typical like vampire, werewolf, or fairy and dragon kind of thing. Like, they have, it's unique supernatural beings. So that's all I'm gonna say. I don't know what the back of the book says, so I'm not gonna say what they actually are. But it's a very interesting take on paranormal, and one I've never read about, so I'm excited to see where it goes. I have a feeling it's gonna be like a very messy romance. I read one of her other books, and I want to say it was part of the same like series, perhaps, because I read Beautiful Villain by her, and it too is only like 300 pages. Oh, no, it was much longer than that, 350 pages. So I don't know exactly how long this book is, but this was like a Great Gatsby retelling where vampires were involved. So it was like a paranormal Great Gatsby retelling. And I thought she did one that was supposed to be like a picture of Dorian Gray. Charming Devil. I don't know if that came out and I missed it. Let's look. Also, there's rumors that Taylor Swift is going to be announcing Reputation tomorrow at the AMAs. This is the 25th. They keep saying it's going to happen tomorrow at the AMAs. So by the time you guys see this, we could have a release date for Reputation, Taylor's version. How exciting is that? Yes, so this one has already come out, that other one. So they're not together. Oh, no, it is. Okay, it is the 3rd book, so I skipped one. But I don't think they're, like, related at all. So it's not a big deal. But I read this one, and I'm reading Ruthless Devotion, and I missed Charming Devil, so maybe I'll have to grab that if I like this one. They were interesting, like, they weren't, like, the best reads. The first one, this one wasn't, like, the best read ever. It was very spicy, like, very physical. That was the plot. And this one's kind of taking that route. But you know what? Sometimes that's all you want. And if that's what I end up getting with Ruthless Devotion, I'm okay with that right now. Allie writes spicy, but not at the level of what I would say this is. And the next romance I want to read possibly in this vlog if I get time, I don't think will be as spicy just because of who the couple is, which I'm not going to say unless I find the time to do it. So speaking of time, I didn't give an update before, but I'm at just under 18 hours on the timer. So I have read 4 full books. So I read Unsteady and then Slow Burn Summer, Loath to Love You, Horror Movie, and I'm reading Ruthless Devotion, which I should be able to finish in the next, what is that, 6 hours, definitely. So I may get to start a 6th book, but we'll see. So that was kind of a very all over the place update, but that's where I am. It's getting later in the day. It's like 4. Yeah, like 4 o'clock. So I haven't been completely undistracted today. I feel like I'm doing confessionals because I'm literally not reading in any of the rooms that you've seen me film my updates in today. I'm reading in my bedroom. Like, I've just been laying in bed for most of the day. I've been getting up to do a few things, but that's it. And yeah, I need to stop being distracted by my phone. So we'll talk when I'm done with Ruthless Devotion. Okay, so I have just under 22 hours on the timer and I just finished Ruthless Devotion and I think I'm done for this vlog just because I'm not going to finish another book in 2 hours and I have to like edit and things to get this ready to go, and it is Monday. I have some other things to do today too. So I enjoyed that one more than I think I enjoyed what was the first one, Beautiful Villain. However, like right after my last update when I was like, I think you can read them all as standalones, I probably should have read the other one before because those characters literally came right into that next chapter, like first 2 books characters, and then they were part of the book. Not like a huge part, but they did come back a few times. And yeah, I think I probably should have read that second one, but it's fine. I can still go back and read it. So I plan to at some point because I did really enjoy this one. I think this one had more suspense and more mystery and more of like a plot line than the first book, which just felt like spicy Twilight, if I'm going to be completely honest. So I didn't hate it, but there was very little plot. This one actually had like a well thought out plan and plot, and there was a lot of suspense and a lot of action and a lot going on in the last like 20-30% of the book. So I think that helped me get through that part. And I do like how she brought the other characters in. Granted, I don't know the one that was the picture of Dorian Gray retelling. I know the characters obviously because his name was Dorian and I know what his love interest's name is, but other than that, I don't know their actual story, so I'll have to go back and read that. There were like little Easter eggs dropped of it, but I enjoyed this. I think it's about like a 3.5 star read. I would recommend it if you want just like a interestingly like spicy paranormal. There were stakes in this, so I don't know if this is actually classified as a fantasy or romance. I'm not 100% sure, but I enjoyed it. I will probably continue. I think there's going to be another one. It seemed like she was hinting at the end. This was an arc, so like everything wasn't there at the end. Like the epilogue and the extended epilogue and the bonus scenes and stuff weren't actually there. But she did imply that the next book would be like a Phantom of the Opera retelling. So that would be interesting. Yeah, so that's where I am with that. That's all the books from this vlog. So we'll go over them very quickly. Okay, so the first book we read was Unsteady by Peyton Corinne, and I ended up giving this one 4 stars. Then I read An Arc of the Slow Burn Summer by Josie Silver, and I gave that 3 stars. Enjoyed it, but like not the most romantic book ever, and I think I was going into it expecting it to be more romance. Then I finished Horror Movie by Paul Tremblay. Again, I went into this I think expecting something that it wasn't, so I ended up giving this 2 stars. I explained my reasonings for that earlier. I didn't hate it, but it just wasn't, I think, for me. Then, throughout the course of the vlog, I was reading the 3 novellas in Loath to Love You by Ali Hazelwood, and I ended up giving this 4 stars overall. And then finally finished out with Ruthless Devotion by Rebecca Kenny, and I gave that 3.5 stars. So, relatively average. I say it was like a relatively average vlog. I got some books off my TBR, 3 books off the TBR, which is great, and then 2 arcs done, which is also fantastic because I need to start reading those more. I'm surprisingly getting more of them from my NetGalley like percentage dropping every time I get one. I don't understand how that exactly works, but I need to start reading like 2 or 3 of them a month to stay on track. So I got 2 done. That's always good. So that's all I have for this vlog. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know if you've read any of these books. If you had to pick books for a 24-hour readathon, I tend to try to pick shorter ones or like romances, things I know I'm going to get through quicker. But I'm just curious, like, do you think it makes sense to try to like get through as many as possible, or just sit down and try to read a astronomically large book? Like, I could have finished the Zodiac Academy this weekend because of how much I read. The first two, they're the two books that I'm on right now, but I opted to read quantity instead of page quantity. I went for book quantity. So let me know. And thanks again. And thank you again so much for watching. And I hope to see you in the next video.